Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome home.
Obviously, we've spent the last 5 months, which is mental to say, touring America and Canada. But it feels like we're on holiday now, coming back to England. When we were coming back on the flight, I've never felt so much like I've enjoyed coming home so much, Seeing all like the Greenland
fields
and
and sunshiny and...
But let's get straight into the most important thing. I've had a lot of questions about it, and that is, were the tools all right coming back on the flight? They're all good, all the Milwaukee tools, safe and sound. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Jess's cordless tools.
Oh, no.
So Jess didn't want to leave her cordless tools in the van in case somebody saw them stolen. So we put them in the luggage. We brought them back. We emptied the luggage to refill the sock drawer.
Nice seeing everybody.
And it is missing. So unless somebody went searching through them and took it, or we found a little hole in the bag. So maybe somewhere at Heathrow Airport, there's a cordless microphone floating about on an elevator somewhere. So come back in.
Oh, God.
But don't worry, she's restocked.
Bye.
It's good to be back. Well, I don't know where she's got to, so we'll have to go look for her. But I thought I'd show you the old pins. Now, before we left, I hate the thought of any vehicles sat outside all through winter. So we built a little lean-to for it, and I was quite surprised when we got back. Not one bit of rust, not one bit of dirt, and she's gleaming.
But I have found myself some much better company. Anybody wondering how Big Bad Bry's getting on? He's nearly 2 years old now. And we thought we might take him for a little walk. You want to go a walk? And have a chat with you about all the things that we learned on this trip, how much it cost, things we regret, like travelling with John, and maybe getting better luggage. So let's go. Come on, bud. So our single most expensive thing for the trip, I don't think will surprise anybody, it was the shipping. So it was 3,600, no, these hasn't, 3,640.
We'll put it on the screen.
Pounds, yeah. On the way out, and then 2,956 on the way back, which was a total of 6,600 pounds. Oh my God.
This is going well.
6,600 pounds, which is a crazy amount of money. And it would have been much cheaper to buy a vehicle out there, but the reason we shipped was because we wanted to go to the Arctic.
Which obviously meant we needed a vehicle that had preheaters, was capable of doing minus 30 or more.
Minus 34?
Yeah, but...
And had obviously all your tanks inside, the insulation, all that sort of thing. I think you could do it in another vehicle, but I don't think it would be so comfortable or so safe.
Yeah, but if you bought a vehicle out there, you could lose 6 grand on it straight away when you come to sell it and still be quids in. So I definitely recommend doing that. And then there's the travelling side to it as well.
Yes, so you're allowed 6 months at a time on your temporary import in Canada, but you can just go out and come back and that's fine. The US is a bit trickier though. So you have to get a prior approval letter, and then you're only allowed 12 months total in America, and that counts the second you cross the border. So as soon as we went into Alaska, our 1 year started, and you also can't leave your vehicle in the US as well. So you'd mitigate all of those issues if you got a vehicle out there.
And then lastly, with regards to vehicle as well, is if you take an English vehicle, obviously if you took like a Fiat or a Citroen or anything like that, you're going to really struggle for parts. And even Mercedes, they use different engines over there, whereas buying a vehicle out there, you know you're always going to get bits.
For insurance, we managed with lots of research to wrangle a fully comprehensive policy to cover us in Canada and the US for 12 months, and that cost £1,166. And then for our visas and international driver's permits, it cost £53 because we just went for the 6 months you're allowed in Canada and the 90 days at a time that you're allowed in the US. And that included getting our fingerprints done and everything. Another boring but essential cost, especially if you're going to the Americas with the cost of healthcare out there, is travel insurance. Now, this is a really personal one because it depends on your age, your health, all kinds of different things. But for us, it was £1,493, but that was for an 18-month policy because we thought we were going to be going backwards and forwards. Obviously, plans have changed, but that's what it cost for us. And then for hotels and taxis, we spent £501, which was for our airport hotel the night before we flew out, and and then while we were in Halifax waiting for the van to come in. But for the whole rest of the 5 months on the trip, we wild camped. So that is our total accommodation costs. Well, that's all the boring bit. Let's get to the juicy bit, the food costs.
£60 is what we spent.
A week. This is the most we have ever eaten out on a trip. But when in Rome / the Americas, you've got to do it, haven't you? So total was £1,199 on eating out, which is astronomical, but I'm so glad that we did it.
Yeah. Without a doubt, best pizzas you can ever get.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tricky. So my favourite meal has to be the Canadian brunch. Like Canada they smash a breakfast. And then I would say the favourite desserts were a beaver tail and closely followed by the maple taffy. That was really good. And then our food shopping bill came to £2,200 for the 5 months away.
But I think you need to take this off the cost of the trip, because wherever you are, you're always going to have that same cost. I know it was slightly dearer because, well, Alaska was expensive and all the small towns were expensive. But to be fair, I thought America and Canada would be cheap for food.
I can't believe how expensive in general. And we did get a few messages from people before we went saying the groceries were expensive there, but literally everything you got off the shelf, you were sort of wincing, even after you'd done the kind of conversion to pounds.
And they reckon that over there, sometimes it's cheaper to eat out than it is to eat at home, which is bonkers.
That's the justification for how much we pay out.
The one inevitable cost is fuel. And
this is our second most expensive as well.
And I would say a lot of what we do, you could string out a lot more. So we move so much. So our fuel bill, which is Jess has told me to remember, I've forgotten already, but over 5 months was a lot. But somebody else would probably do that in a year. What was it?
So it was £3,478 we spent on fuel. But that was to cover 16,400 miles.
I thought it was more. Somebody asked me, I thought it was about 20,000. So not a bad little outing, was it?
No. And good old Sainsbury's van didn't skip a beat as well.
And what about gas?
Gas cost us, this was including buying the refillable bottles. I was gutted that we couldn't bring back with us, because you can keep underslung tanks on your vehicle, but you can't have removable ones.
Yeah, because they're a lot cheaper to buy out there. So we just gave it away to somebody. We found somebody on a boat and then we gave them away the day before we came home. So
that was for the bottles and the refill we had while we were out there, which was £97.61.
Bargain.
£2,295 is what we spent on flights and trains for this trip, but we saved an absolute fortune on this thanks to the sponsor of this week's video, Surfshark. Now, one thing that drives me absolutely bananas when I'm booking holidays is that you go in to have a look at things, and then when you go back, the price is bumped up. And that's because those companies track your browsing history, and they use that information to determine the prices they offer you. But Surfshark helps with this because it's a virtual private network. And what that means is it encrypts all the information that's sent between your device and the internet, which essentially just means it makes it invisible. So it means that none of your browsing history can be used, and nothing to do with your personal identity can be linked to you on the internet. So the companies can't use it to bump up the prices. It also lets you change your virtual location, so you can make the travel company think that you're searching from different countries, because they use your location to set the prices that they offer you. So for example, when I went on my phone at the airport to book our flights from Baltimore, it offered me a price of $550 for our flight home. But I went on to Surfshark, I changed my location to London, and it came back for the same flight with the same airline at £352. So it saved us £120 on our flights back home. So if you've got a trip coming up, I highly recommend using Surfshark to save you some pennies, and you can try it risk-free because they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. They've also given us a brilliant deal. You'll get an extra 4 months of free of Surfshark if you use the code TRUEBLUE at the checkout, or you go to surfshark.com/trueblue. You can click the QR code just here. I'll put the link in the description for you.
Next one is equipment like bear spray, ski helmets and
lining gloves, which made a huge difference, I have to say as well.
But that was 335 quid.
Mm-hmm. This doesn't take into account, obviously, all of the specific equipment we bought to go to the Arctic last year. We already had that, so we took it with us. And it also doesn't include John's tool purchases, because this sum would be significantly more if we included John's obsessions.
And Jess took hers with her as well, so...
You said no more!
She went for the same model as well. I said I said,
Right, the next topic is consumables. So this was the things that were used for repairs, and also the amount of windscreen washer fluid we went through was unholy. £732 as well.
Next one's a big one, but we didn't mind spending every penny of this one because it was activities.
And it was so worth it.
So we went skiing 5 times, rodeo, ice hockey, baseball, helicopter rides,
cross-country skiing, all the national parks entry, tobogganing.
Yeah.
It was absolutely unbelievable.
And I have to give a shout out here to Krista because she sorted this out a national park pass for Canada. And if you go into America, Canada or Australia, I'd highly recommend to get one because they are a little bit of money up front, but then you don't mind wherever you go. And because a lot of places you get to and
should we go in there? Should we go in there? Whereas if you've paid your national parks pass and you've got your entry, you just go, and every single place we went, we were definitely worth it.
But by the time you go to maybe 2 parks, it pays for itself anyway. So
yes, highly recommend that. So our total for activities was £2,277. So for the next one, you don't have to have this, I would say, but we wouldn't have been without it.
We have to thank old Muskie for this one.
Oh God. Which is our Starlink, because there's so many places that we went where there was absolutely no signal, and for days. And like, could you imagine, you saw how hard my job was keeping him entertained for 4 days stuck on the Dempster Highway. Well, there was no signal there. So if we hadn't had Starlink, I would have been well and truly scuppered.
Yeah, and when we're in Europe, a lot of the time we'll pull up and we'll be like, oh, there's no signal, so we have to move on. Well, that's all right when there's loads of spaces to find, but especially when you're in the winter and a lot of places aren't ploughed and that.
Yeah.
You get to a spot, you just want to stop there. So it's one of them things that once you get, you'll never not go back to it.
Yeah. So, and for me, like I said, the security of being able to always get emergency help was worth every penny. So we're also on the most expensive roaming plan with them because we need to have it unlimited for uploading videos. You could get the much cheaper plan if you were just doing it for safety and normal use. So we pay £96 a month, which came to a total of £480 for the trip.
Parking and tolls. Now, it was £110, but you've got to take half of that off for the one night we went to the Cubs game for parking.
In Chicago.
So the rest of that was for when we went across to Prince Edward Island and also where we saw the otters.
Yeah, to Whittier through the tunnel.
But for parking, we hardly paid any at all.
I think we paid once in Quebec City and then was somewhere else, but I can't remember where that was.
Yeah.
So really good, especially when you think how much money you spend parking in Europe. And then the last expense is our cash spend. So we did £829 in cash. And this covers car washes, doing laundry and filling up with water in Alaska, which was the only time we had to pay for any services actually, because they've got dump points everywhere and loads of water taps. And we didn't really struggle like we did in the Nordics finding unfrozen ones either. So that was brilliant. And then the main thing here was our ski gear that we bought secondhand off of Marketplace and our ice skates as well.
Which we're bringing the ski gear home because we'll probably go again. But the ice skates, we didn't really think we were going to do it again, so we kind of looked like a bit of weirdos, really.
Look like right weirdos.
We pulled up to a school and saw a kid with an ice hockey stick, so...
I jump out with my ice hockey stick and go, hey mate, no, this seems weird, but do you want my ice hockey stick and my puck?
Yeah, and also they had an ice rink, but it wasn't being used, and they reckon it was because it was too expensive to flood the ice rink.
Because water's so expensive in Alaska.
So we saw one of the teachers, and we gave her both our skates as well, so she said she could put them to good use.
Yeah, for any kids that didn't have them.
So the grand total, because up till now, when you break it down, you think, it's pretty good.
Palatable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Until you total it.
Honestly, I gasped
Get
when
on
the
with it.
Excel spreadsheet bust out this number. £23,839.
But I would say, you think a lot of people could go on an all-inclusive holiday and for 2 weeks and pay $5,000 for it, couldn't you, for a couple?
Yes.
So when you think of it at 5 months, it's not bad at all, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a ridiculous amount of money. But to make ourselves feel a little bit better, we did go on the Indie Campers website because we saw a few of those bumbling around out there and we wondered how much the hire was. And to hire it for the dates that we were away...
It wasn't the dates. It would only let me do up to a certain amount. So it was a few weeks short this as well.
I didn't know that bit. So to hire it for lesser than the time than we were there was £20,327. Putting on top of that, obviously, everything we did, all the food, all of that was on top of that cost.
You wouldn't have had I don't think it'd probably come with pots, pans, all the things we used for 5 months. It might be all right for a week's holiday, but...
not all the gear anyway. Yeah. So, makes it a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah, the £6,000 shipping doesn't seem too bad. The next one is a bit of a juicy one, because we'll go through the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And I think we're going to start on the juiciest of all, the ugly, which is the reaction that we got for going to the US. So first question is, do we regret going to the US? Absolutely not. We still 100% stand by our decision to go. We're so glad that we did, and we had an amazing time.
Yeah, and I know a few other YouTubers are out there at the minute. They're getting quite a lot of hate as well for being out there. And it's one thing, we got a message, somebody saying they don't support what's going on in America at the minute, so they don't want to follow us through that bit of the trip. I sort of think, fair enough, you know what I mean?
Right.
Exactly. But some people message and proper hating, I can't believe you're going.
Direct attack on us as people for choosing to visit that country.
But they didn't mind. These are the same people that followed us when we went to Morocco.
For example, which, you know, we don't see visiting any country as being a support for or against their political regime. I don't see that when we went to Morocco, we were supporting their illegal occupation of Western Sahara, human rights violations and corruption and things like that. We went because we wanted to see their beautiful country, we wanted to meet the people who live there, support the local business, and to see what life was like there. Yeah. And that's the exact same motivation for us in going to the US.
And Jess won't like me saying this, talking about politics again, but old Trumpy, let's have it right. That's a lot of the reason why a lot of people are hating on America at the minute. I've even seen some YouTube reviews saying that it's not safe to go to America. Well, it's one of the safest places we've been. We never felt unsafe one bit. Not once. But I agree with some of the things Trump says. I disagree with what he says sometimes, just the same as I do Jess. Like I've said before, I watch Joe Rogan, but I don't agree with everything he says, but I think some of the stuff he says is good. Same with every single person in the world. So
yeah, I see value in meeting people from all walks of life. I see value in experiencing every culture and everything that people do, really. So we loved America. We had an amazing time there, and we would definitely go back. On to a more light-hearted topic. Now, we've prepared our answers to these separately. We don't know what each other is going to say. So, what is the thing that surprised you most on the trip?
You go first.
The thing that surprised me most? Cost of food. I know I've said it, but I honestly couldn't believe how expensive it was. And it was such a joy to go shopping at Lidl when we got home and not like, ooh, and I never thought I'd say that after all the price rises here.
For me, my biggest shock was Canada. Because I knew America
What, you mean like the whole country?
Yeah, okay. I knew America would be great because I've been before. Just stupid things like the amount of rubbish bins there was in national parks, and when you got into the national parks and you were so on your own, and the views and
the remoteness there was unreal.
Just incredible, yeah.
Just the whole of Canada.
Whole of Canada, yeah. If you've not been to Canada, make it one of the top of your list. I think it's probably one of the best places we've ever been.
What was your favourite place?
Mont Tremblant, the skiing place. Yep. And even though I like the out the way places, one, if you've never been skiing before, so much fun once you get over the first bit of learning. And it was funny because we had a bit of a Barney at Mont Tremblant as well, because there was a real steep bit and Jess
couldn't film this bit.
Jess couldn't go down. And I was like, just get on with it, you big wuss. And she was like, ooh. But when you ski down there and it's just...
Shoop, shoop. Shooping along.
Just an amazing, amazing place there. So that's for me. Yeah. And like I say, if you were going on holiday there with some friends for the nightlife, yeah, just brilliant. So that's for me.
I honestly think this is an impossible question to answer. But I think I'm gonna have to go for the Dempster Highway.
Oh yeah.
Because it was just the most unbelievable experience.
Best road trip we've ever done.
Yeah, the ice roads, the really unique way of life, the remoteness of it, the landscape, the northern lights, just...
See, one of the questions is the best experience, and for me it is the Dempster Highway, but none of them, just for the drama that we had. That was so good. Like, that was my favourite part of the whole trip, was when we got stuck, like the excitement of when are we going to go, and then it was all manic, and then we go through them blizzards, and then we drove into the night, and then it was like -30, and Then we saw the moose, just pure enjoyment. Because if you've grown up chasing a bit of adrenaline through like horse riding, motorbike racing and things like that, you get that real spark. And as you get older, life gets boring.
You get less chances to chase it.
Yeah, you don't get that tingle and so when you get things like that, it's so exciting.
It's unforgettable.
Anyways, what's yours?
My best experience is a tie between seeing the otters and seeing the bears. Both of them still make me a bit emotional when I think about them, so definitely. Okay, I need to change the subject before I start getting emotional about it.
Next one.
Next one. What was the most fun thing we did?
Same again for me. Most fun, the Dempster, the drama.
What?
Everything.
Just the Dempster Highway.
The whole Dempster, yeah. Like, if I could go back and just want to do one thing and we couldn't do anything else, just the Dempster.
But what's so interesting, we did talk about this, is that it depends so much on when you're in a place and what happens.
Yeah, and what experience you have. Because when we did the Dalton was all right, but nothing like the Dempster.
No.
But if it would have been a lot snowier, if we'd have seen a lot more wildlife, if we'd had a bit more drama, then maybe it would have been a lot better. So if we'd have gone a week later, it might have been like that. So.
There was enough drama for me with all of those rocks flying at us and smashing the windscreen. And we've even found chips on the bonnet of the vehicle where the rocks chipped it. So for me, the most fun thing, again, I've cheated and it's a tie because I genuinely can't decide if it's the toboggan run that we did at Le Massif or it was the helicopter ride in the Rockies, because both of those were unbelievable.
I think that was because the helicopter ride, because we didn't know we were doing it. Literally, genuinely drove past, saw it, thought, should we do it? We did it.
Yeah.
So
and I was so nervous as well. So it was that, like John was talking about, it's that thrill as well.
Yeah, whereas that leads me actually on to my most disappointing part.
Oh.
And that is Alaska, which is crazy because there's one spot, remember when we drove through, and it's probably
on the way to Denali.
One of the most amazing scenes you could ever see. But because I knew Alaska was going to be so incredible, it was a bit of a letdown. Whereas the helicopter ride, we didn't know what we were doing. So it was amazing. And Canada, I didn't expect anything from Canada, or the Dempster, because I didn't do any research.
Because he doesn't. See, this is the thing. He has no expectations because he doesn't do any of the research.
Yeah, whereas Alaska, I've heard about it for years. I've always wanted to go. So even though it was great, it was just a bit flat because it was
I
great.
think as well with Alaska, because it is so inaccessible, I mean, huge parts of Canada are inaccessible as well. I do think it would be best explored with bush planes and on cruises as well. So glad we did the overland bit, but I think I'd love to go back and I'd love to do it, see it from the water and see a bit more from the air.
So it'd still be well up there on my list of like incredible things we've done. But yeah, it's just one of them. What about you?
My biggest disappointment from the whole trip was about the hate that we got from going to the US, because even though we were fully prepared and I knew we'd be fine, it made me doubt myself, it made me worried, and yeah, it left a bit of a bitter taste.
Oh, so you did the opposite to me. Like I was excited when we went through like the checkpoints, thinking something was going to happen and that. So.
Because you don't do any of the work to prepare to go through, that's why. But yes, that was my biggest disappointment. What about something you do differently?
So I'd take a bigger vehicle. And this is strange because in Europe, I would never have anything bigger than what we've got. But one, in winter, you could get away with a bigger vehicle because nobody cares that you're in your van in winter.
Yeah.
Even in the most scenic places going. Also, to get a bit of space. I've got the feeling Jess's patience was tested slightly sometimes.
Just a little bit.
So,
but it even got to the point, John hates doing the food shopping with a vengeance. But he was so desperate to get outside sometimes that he would come and help me with the food shop. Yeah. So gives you an idea of kind of how much you did want to get outside.
I think a HX60 would be a beauty rig, wouldn't it?
It would be a beauty rig. I think for me, the biggest thing I would change is putting fans into the cupboards, because it did get really old every couple of days, taking every single basket out, spraying and wiping it out, drying it down to make sure we didn't end up in a mold.
But again, that's because of how insulated the vehicle is and everything, and it's not vented. So when we got home, we went into my mum and dad's caravan.
Oh my goodness.
And one, the space of it was so much bigger, but two, there's vents everywhere.
Yeah. Under
every cupboard, in the roof, like you name it, which is brilliant because you get the ventilation round and things don't get mouldy and things like that. But obviously when you're in minus 30 plus, you don't want all them vents. So it's such a balancing act when you're doing something like that.
Yeah. So that is a wrap on our Canadian and American adventure. And if you've got any questions we haven't answered, please feel free to pop them in the comments. We're always happy to help. But I know that the burning question on everybody's lips is, what are we doing next? So Sainsbury's van is still floating around somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic. She gets back next week, and then we need to give her a good old birthday. And then the Pins needs a shakedown trip, like we always do, make sure everything works and get her all ready to go.
But for long term, we still can't spill the beans just yet, because
there's a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, and until one ball sort of slots into place, that affects everything else that we do. So we don't even know what we're doing at the minute until that slots in. So as soon as we do, we'll let you know, and hopefully it'll be in the next few weeks.
Yeah, we all know what John wants to build.
So
we should be able to let you know by next month what is going on.
But I think we're probably going to have a week or two off YouTube maybe, because we've got to get the van, and then we've got to do so many jobs around the house as well.
A fair few things broke while we were away. So someone climbed the gate and that's got snapped. Anglian Water have informed us we've got a leak somewhere we've got to find, and just a million other jobs that would be really boring.
And we don't want to just do a video just for the sake of doing a video. And so we will make sure we post everywhere when we're going to be back, and we will look forward to seeing you guys then. So don't forget about that Surfshark link in the description, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.